Welcome to Rick's Corner. I have, from time to time, I bring on different guests, as you know, or I do monologues, or I bring wrestlers and bodybuilders and doctors and Indian chiefs. But today I have a friend of mine who's been my friend for probably how many years?
Oh gosh, a long time.
Probably close to 50.
At least 50.
Gary Wallack is a friend of mine that we used to train down in Venice at Gold's, starting in about 1970s, I believe.
I say about early 1970s.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he has as much knowledge of the days at the gym as I do. We had all the same friends. He was friends with Arnold and Franco and Eddie and all the guys. And he came over tonight for dinner because both of our wives, so to speak, are out of town. We had nothing to do. So we thought we'd talk about the days in Venice because, as you know, I mean, you grew up down here, you know how it is, that nothing will ever be like that again.
No, absolutely not. It was a different era.
It was.
In weightlifting.
Even the feeling in the air when you go down to the beach and you're just, the atmosphere was laid back and I don't know, it's just hard to describe unless you were there. It's like going back and smelling the flowers in your old high school, you know?
Yes, it's like a close family.
It was, wasn't it?
You know, very close, and guys competed, but they were all friends with one another, and they, if somebody won, they weren't jealous. They were happy for them.
There was no jealousy.
None.
And not everybody was a top bodybuilder.
No, you're right.
There was only maybe a dozen guys that were competing, and then there was another 30 guys that Joe Gold used to call the second team, or the extras, or the he had a name for them, the background players, he called them.
That's right.
And there was Bugsy, and there was Louie, and there was INR, and XR, and all these characters that Joe Gold... Bill Pettis.
Roger Coons.
He put names on all these guys, and they would all come in the door, and they'd train, and they didn't compete, they were just one of the group. It's like a high school group where you have the top guys that are doing the athletes, and then you have the other guys that hang out with them all.
Yes, and you're right. Joe Gold had a nickname for everybody.
Everybody. Mm-hmm. And Joe was quite a guy too. I mean, a lot of people don't know today when I go into the gym, the younger crowd, and they see Gold Gym, they don't know who Joe Gold is, which is really
not
sad.
At all. You're right. It took quite a few years to even put a picture up of Joe Gold at the original Gold Gym.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and they just did that, a few years ago.
A few years ago, yeah.
But again, the founder of Gold's, he started it all.
He did. And the thing is that if you go into Gold's Day on Hampton, someone says, hey, I saw your picture in there, Rick was in the bathroom. And if you go in there and you make a left to the second room and there's a bathroom on the other side.
Right, yes.
I have 3 pictures on the wall as I'm going to the bathroom. I said, you can't find a better spot for me?
Well, that's why a lot of the guys go into the bathroom, I guess.
Yeah, just to see that, right?
Right.
But I've said this on the show before, but Joe Gold he probably had the best equipment ever.
He did, and he made most of it himself.
He did.
Yes, absolutely. He was an expert at old school unmaking equipment.
Yeah, he was he had welded at his house, and he'd haul it down in a truck, and the guys would lift it in, he'd put it together, and he'd tinker with it and tweak it so it fit your needs. He says, try this out. If it doesn't work, I'll readjust it.
And it lasts forever.
I know he had the cable crossovers, and and I don't see this in a lot of gyms, you could adjust them up high, or you could bring them down to the center, or you could bring them down low.
Yes.
You didn't, in some gyms they just have it high and low.
Yes.
But this was on a post. And it'd go up and down, you could just lock it in and move it anywhere you wanted on the bar and do your cables from any angle.
Absolutely. You're right.
His handles, and I've said this before, were bell-handled dumbbells. They fit your hand, where today's dumbbells are kind of narrow.
Yes.
And they don't feel as solid.
It seems like it's hard to get a good grip on some of these dumbbells.
It is. His became part of your arm.
Yes.
And so when you held that dumbbell, it was like part of your arm, and when you would curl it, it just felt like the whole thing was going up for you.
Well, I think the reason why is nowadays there's just so much equipment that's machines.
Yeah.
And those days we didn't have a lot of this new machinery they have. So we used a lot of dumbbells and barbells in that time.
That was it.
And pulleys, but nothing
well, first of all,
we have now.
There was no treadmills.
That's right.
No bicycles and no Stairmasters.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And there was a water fountain. No one had water bottles.
Mm-hmm.
There was no music.
No, and Joe says when guys would come in early in the morning and it was cold, he said, buy a t-shirt, buy a sweatshirt, whatever.
Yeah, he wouldn't put the heat on.
No, he would never put the heat on, and he didn't even have soap in the showers most of the time.
Right.
Because I guess he didn't want to use too much of his water.
Yeah, he could be real cheap about that.
Right.
He had a heater, and it was in the ceiling, like those heaters you see with the ducts, but it wasn't connected.
No, it wasn't.
He had to put up there for to pass the inspection for the building.
That's right.
And he says, I don't turn the heat on. He says, as far as showers go, and he even said this on a video, he says, these guys don't take showers anyway.
Exactly. Absolutely.
People would come in off the beach in their bathing suits and full of sand and get in the shower and get it all over the place. But people would also laugh. They'd watch our videos and say, you guys didn't wear shoes in the gym, and you wore bathing suits and posing briefs. It's true.
That's right.
Because you have to realize, and the gym was only a block away from the beach.
That's right.
And if you wanted some cardio, you just ran out the front door and did maybe a run between piers a mile or two.
We used to do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then come back in the gym and work out.
That's right.
And Arnold even said back then, he said, I get a better calf workout barefoot.
Well, we're running in the sand, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people did that.
Yes.
And the shower was upstairs, and it was men and women.
That's right.
Ever?
I remember. We won't go into detail, but I do remember.
Yeah, it didn't matter who was in there. You were there, the girl walked in, she walked in, that was all it was.
Absolutely.
I had gone to, when they switched the gyms down to, I think it was 2nd Street.
On Second, right.
Yeah, Gold's had moved and it had new owners, and Pete Gromkowski and those guys on. I'm in the shower one day, and this girl comes running in, and I'm naked as can be, and she hands me a birthday card. Here, I want you to come over tonight. I have a surprise for you at my house. I live right by the pier. So I said, okay, I'll be there.
Right.
But I'm standing there buck naked, and she brings me a birthday card in there. No one cared. No one said anything.
Not at all. It was just perfectly natural.
And then we had the restaurant down the street we called the Germans.
That's right.
And it was like 7 eggs and ham and eggs and something for $1.35.
Mm-hmm. And the smorgasbord called the one on Pico.
It was on 4th.
4th Street, there was a smorgasbord, and the
That's
guys
right.
would go in. And I remember the time that Ken Waller and Tony Novak, and we all went to Shakey's Pizza, all you could eat,
Mm-hmm.
and they were pulling off the cheese and leaving the dough, and they actually had to tell us to leave because they were just eating so much, but
the company was losing
they were losing so much
Well,
money.
the smorgasbord did the same thing. The guys would come in with tinfoil in their workout bag, and they'd take the chicken and throw it in the bag, and no one's looking. They'd take like 20 pieces of chicken home, and that was their meal.
Well, how many did you take home?
I don't remember, but I remember a guy coming in the gym one day, and he says, hey, Rick, I went to the smorgasbord. I ate 32 meatballs.
Right.
32 meatballs. He counted every one of them. How did he eat 32 meatballs?
Yeah, that's right. His name was the Missing Link, I think.
Oh, we had the missing link,
Right.
David Carter. This guy was funny, and I don't know where he is today, but he rode a motorcycle, and one of the pegs on the motorcycle broke off. So he'd ride down the Santa Monica Freeway with one leg dangling, and it would hit the cement and kick up. But he didn't wear a shirt. He always had shorts on, and sometimes no shoes even. Come in the gym, grab the bar with 400 pounds,
Right.
and do a squat right off the bat.
He would. And to prove it, that Arnold one time was there, and he came into the gym, and he told Arnold I could do like 400 pounds cold, and Arnold bet him. And sure enough, he did it.
He did it.
Yes.
He was a little bit off center. He was a lot off center. He lived behind the gym, and I went over there one day, and he had this pan with the lid on it. It's on his stove, and he had a funny voice. He always sounded like he was out of breath.
That's right.
Hi, Rick. My name is David Carter, and this is how he would talk to me. So I go up to his apartment, and he pulls the lid off, and he's got this half a chicken in there. It's been cooking for a little while. It's all, how it looks all white in the pan, right? He figured it was done. It looked like it was half raw to me, and he takes it out, and he just starts eating it, and he's crunching. I said, what are you doing? Oh, I'm eating the bones. The marrow and the bones are really good for you. He ate the whole half a chicken, bones and all.
That's for sure.
This guy was nuts. I don't know whatever happened to him, but man, was he strong.
Oh, he was so strong.
And then Bill Pettis would come in, and then Bill Pettis, he had the huge arms back then.
He had bigger arms than Arnold. I think
He did.
they were 22.5-inch arms at that time.
Bill was really a nice guy. He was a little slow. We all knew it, but we loved Bill. Actually, he was a great guy. And his mom sends him a care package around Christmas time, so we figured, what, she'd send you some clothes? It was deodorant, toothpaste, mouthwash, soap, everything else to have hygiene.
That's right.
Because he lived on the roof. Joe Gold gave him a place to sleep on the roof of Gold's Gym because he had no money to live anywhere.
That's right.
So he passed away recently. I'm sorry to say, he had fallen down in a river back home and drowned.
And he used to, when they closed World Gym the final time, and Joe passed away, He was actually sleeping outside the gym when it was closed for quite a long time. He had no place to go.
This was the World Gym on
Lincoln and Washington.
Yeah, Joe just paid him to watch the parking lot.
That's
just to be nice and help him out financially. There was nothing to watch other than a parking lot.
Absolutely.
No one even parked there.
Yes, you're right.
So Joe had sold the gym, and then he sold it to Bud Dennis and Dave Sachs for a year, and then they sold it to Ken Sprague.
That's right.
And Ken Sprague started running shows, and sponsored by Gold's Gym, and this is what put Gold's Gym on the map.
Yes.
The bodybuilding shows. He put some money into it, and then he ended up selling it to Pete Grimgowski and Paul and Ed Connors. They moved it over to 2nd Street in Santa Monica into a bigger facility right next to the Pussycat Theater.
That's right.
If you can imagine that. But the gym they leased it from Robert Blake, the actor. He owned the building. Mm-hmm. They kept it there for some time, and then they got a deal over on Hampton. I remember Pete Grimkowski telling me, he says, I need $50,000. I can get this gym and move it over to Hampton, which they did, and it's been there ever since and become this multi-million-dollar business. It's incredible.
Right. And then I guess Joe got kind of bored, and then he started World Gym.
1976, he was a merchant marine. He came back from sea, and he wanted to do something with himself, and he was a little upset that he sold his name.
He was, yes.
And he bought a lot of property back in the 40s and 50s on the beach that you could buy a lot for like $5,000. He had quite a bit of property down there, so he built the buildings himself out of cinder block. He and a buddy, they actually built it from the ground up by himself, and put all the electrical in and everything, plumbing and all he needed to do, and it became a gym. And then when he closed that one down, he built another gym down on Brooks, which became a gymnastics center.
Yes.
And I don't think that gym ever did real well.
I think it's still vacant. It's been vacant for years.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he got rid of that, and he took over as Sizzler on Washington.
That's right. Yes.
But then 76 is when he opened up World Gym because he couldn't use his name. And it was basically the same equipment as the other gym. Still a good gym.
That's right.
The World Gym on Main Street was right out my back door, 2210, and was upstairs and parking below. But he had that fantastic equipment.
That was probably the best gym.
It really was. It really was the best gym because everybody who had gone to Gold's from there came back to World because Joe owned it.
Yes.
And Gold's had its own group, and then World had its original group.
Exactly.
What people don't know is that Vince Gironda had a gym in North Hollywood called Vince's Gym on Ventura Boulevard, a very small gym.
Yes.
But he had a lot of superstars there. He had a lot of bodybuilders,
a lot of movie people.
A lot of movie, Clint Eastwood and all those guys, and Robert Blake, and then he had Don Hallworth and Chuck Faust, Larry Scott, all those guys trained there. So you had the Valley guys and you had the beach guys.
Yes.
And there was kind of a rivalry between us. It's like two high schools, but yet we were all friends. We would trade training ideas of how we did it, because Vince had a different way of training than we did. But it was fun. We had a good time with it. It was always fun.
It was. Joe opened up a gym in the Valley.
Yeah.
At one time. We worked out.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah, Joe built a gym, and I said this before, out in Panorama City. It was a World Gym.
Yes.
Which eventually became Steve Davis's gym.
That's right.
But it was the same equipment he had at the beach. And so since I was out here and it was right down the street, we'd go there and train. We had great workouts in that gym.
Yes.
And it didn't have the characters that we had at the beach.
No.
Like Bugsy Siegel, for example. His name was Bob Siegel. He was a big-bellied guy, and he looked like a Chicago gangster. And he'd come in and he'd do one-arm bench presses. Remember?
That's right.
He'd do it, the one arm would go up and the other one would follow.
Yes.
But he had an old Cadillac convertible, and in that Cadillac he had a quart of milk and a pint of vodka mixed together, and he'd drink the whole thing down before he trained. Remember all that?
I sure do.
And he'd make fun of everybody. He was like the gym's Don Rickles.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Then he had Bug-Eyed Louie.
Yes.
Because he had bug eyes, because Joe called him Bug Eyes.
That's right.
And he was into watches. He always wanted to see what kind of watch you wore.
Right.
Then he had Seymour Koenig, who was a wrestler and chiropractor, very nice-looking guy. He did Three Stooges and Hercules, and he was called the Snail because he was always late.
Yes.
So these are people that Joe put names on. Einar the plumber had 2 silver teeth, and Joe kicked him out of the gym for being nasty to his dog.
That's right.
He didn't like that.
And he would always hire these guys to fix something, the plumbers, the electricians, and always say he'd get into a fight with them because they never did a good job as far as Joe's standards.
Always, yeah. Chuck Colress, remember Chuck?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Chuck Colress had a fantastic body, and he went to Zabo's wedding, and there's a picture of it. He stood up on the table and posed at the wedding.
Sure.
He was always posing. But then we'd go down to the beach, and we'd be down by the weightlifting pit, and everybody would hang out by that cement slab that they used to use for posing for contests, and lay in the sand because the wind wouldn't hit you, and just fry.
That's right.
And just fry. And it was just a different world. I mean, it was like so easy. You go down there today, and there's all tourists and kiosks, and they didn't have that back then.
No, not at all.
There were probably 20 people on the beach.
Absolutely, yes.
And you could park anywhere. It was a different thing. But Arnold back then, as you remember him, was a good guy. He was fun.
He was. Absolutely.
He was one of the guys, right?
He was.
come in and joke around and just
sure, absolutely.
And always picking on Franco.
Yeah, always. Yeah, he was always very close with Franco.
And then we had Roger Callard was there, and Ed Giuliani, who was very funny.
Right, and Eddie's still working out at Gold's Gym every morning at 4:30 in the morning.
At 80 years old.
At 80 years old, and he looks great, and he's as funny as ever.
Yeah.
And he's one of very few that still really trains and is in good shape and doesn't have as many injuries also.
No, he doesn't. He trained smart.
He did.
Yeah. I remember he lived on a lot of eggs. He was always eating a lot of eggs. But still, he's in his 80s, and he's still in the morning at the gym, his old habits.
Absolutely.
And then he goes home, and I don't know what he does all day. There's nothing to do.
You're right.
But then on the weekends, for fun, we'd go out and we'd go down to the marina. Down to Donkin's and some of those places. And I had showed this on a video because they had clubs, like they do now, for example, but there were no bodybuilders other than us.
That's right.
And the girls would come in from the valley, and they'd be from all over the place, and we always made an impression because we were built. And Bob Leff, remember Bob Leff?
Bob Leff, and also Tony Novak. And who was the other one who hung around with Tony Novak?
Ken Waller did.
Cam Waller. And they would go into Tiffany's nightclubs, and boy, they would raise...
they'd raise a lot of hell.
Raise a lot of
fights.
Yes.
Tony would take women home, and he'd put a tape recorder under his bed and come back in the gym the next day and play it for us.
Right.
So these are things that went on that were just totally crazy. And then we eat all the chicken at 4 o'clock when they come by on Sundays with the hors d'oeuvres to hand to other people.
That's right.
No, they never had a chance. We ate it all.
That's right.
And Bob Leff comes up to me, and he hits these girls, and he comes out, Rick, show me your abs. He raised my shirt up. Look at those abs. And the girls never seen abs before.
Right.
This was a big deal to them. But it was fun back in those days, and so many of those guys are gone now.
No, so many.
It's so sad. I mean, they're just not alive, and I don't know what happened. And there's a handful who don't even work out anymore. They just totally quit.
You wouldn't even recognize them. But again, I mean, Zabo Kazuski was Joe's right hand also, and everybody. These guys were a legend.
Oh yeah,
they really are.
Zabo was always in shape.
Exactly.
Always in shape, and he was a real laid back guy, mostly on marijuana most of the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Always stoned.
And always getting sun and reading a book, and didn't have a care in the world.
No cares in the world. He worked in the studios as an extra. He got some movie roles, but Joe bought him a barber's chair.
Right.
To sit in the gym because he could lay back and take a nap. And he always had dark glasses on, all the time, no matter what time of day or night. He'd go in the gym. He's either sitting in the barber chair sleeping, or he's sitting by the front door with his back to the sun doing a crossword puzzle.
That's right.
And someone would come in the gym and they'd want to join, and he'd look at him and say, "Can't you see I'm busy?"
That's right.
The phone would ring on the wall.
And answer it.
And I'd say, "Answer the phone." They'd be, they'll call back.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, there's so many stories. I remember someone told me that somebody came in to buy a World Gym jacket, and Zabo says, "I think we're all out." And they said, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, they don't have any left." He says, "You'll have to come back some other time." So they left. Eddie came in and told Zabo, "We have 30 jackets upstairs." And Zabo says, "Yeah, but if we sell those, then we have to order more."
Right.
That was his theory.
And you never asked Zabo a personal question. I remember one guy came in and asked, he was having problems with his wife, and asked Zabo what he should do and get some advice. And the only thing Zabo said is, "Get rid of the bitch."
Yeah. That was it. That was it. That was his
couple words. That's it.
That was his solution. Then you go back to reading or sleeping.
Exactly.
Anyway, we wanted to share some of this stuff with you because it's fun. I know you guys like to hear about those stories from the old days, and I think someone suggested I do a tour guide, go down and show you places, or actually mention them on the show, places you should see if you do come to Venice, to go visit, like the firehouse, and go by the old Gold and see where it was, and some parts of the beach and the marina and all that, because there's still stuff to see, even Zookie's Deli.
Oh, yes.
Zookie's Deli was the hangout. It's on 5th and Wilshire, and everybody on the Friday or Saturday night or the weekends would go there to gather.
Yes.
Zookie's Deli was the hangout. On Saturday night, you go across the street to the House of Pies.
That's right.
And when Arnold and those guys had a contest, they'd go over there and he'd eat all the pie and ice cream, and someone says, "How do you stay so cut?" But he did.
Yes.
And he was sabotaged like Orginal by doing that.
That's right.
So anyway, we wanted to share that with you guys. And I want to thank you for watching Rick's Corner. I want to thank Gary for being here, because he came out to see me today, and I said, we're going to do a little video. And he says, "Well, what do I say?" And he knows exactly what to say, because he was there when I was there.
That's right.
And we still have those old friends and those memories of the beach and what it was back in the 70s, which a lot of you wish we could share it with. And I've had some people say, "Oh, forget the past, just move forward." Well, you don't forget the past. You don't live in the past, but you bring it forward to share with people who weren't there, because it's a historical time for bodybuilding and the beach and weightlifting, and it's never going to be reproduced. And someone said, "Why don't they keep the gym as a museum?" But we didn't know then it was going to be popular.
No, we did.
We had no idea. The equipment sold off, the building is a house, and had we known, it could have been a museum, but how many people are really going to go pay to see it?
Exactly. We've learned from the past.
Yeah,
we've taken the good stuff and we applied it, and that's why we're here, and things are good.
Yeah, there's one more thing I want to mention. If you go on my website, you can see I draw the Gold's Gym logo and I sell it for $75, personalized to you, autographed and signed, and I'll ship it out. You just have to order through PayPal, and I'll send it out, so be sure and look for that. Also, a couple of times ago, I went down to Gary's Deli. He owns a delicatessen in Santa Monica, Bud's, and it's the best. I mean, the food is the best. Everything he makes is fresh and clean and tasty, and a lot of the guys from the gym go there. And since I did this little spot on his show, I've had people write to me, say they're going to stop by there, and actually, I think I sent you a text.
Yes.
Yesterday, this guy says, I'm going to be in town on Sunday. I'm going to Bud's Deli.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I want you to stop by and see it. I'm going to put the address up there and say hi to Gary if you're there. Just tell him you saw it on the show, because I've never had better food in my life, and I'm not just saying that. You know that I feel.
Well, I've been there 37 years, and I only buy the best and the finest, and we do our own baking and cooking, and I cook healthy, and you have to try it to really see for yourself.
Yeah, Ed Giuliani comes in there from the gym, and Brad Harris comes in. If you guys know Brad Harris, he was a top bodybuilder back in the day, and a lot of the guys come. In fact, Chuck Ahrens used to work next door to you.
That's right.
Chuck Ahrens was the strongest man alive. He used to train with Steve Merjanian. He could lift up a girl, and you could see it. He could hold a girl in the palm of his hand as she's standing. Actually, I'll put that photo up. And he passed away a few years ago, I think.
He did.
I had seen him outside, and he wasn't mentally all there.
No, he wasn't.
Somebody threatened him with 4 sailors in the car, and he picked up the car, and the wheels spin, and couldn't take off. Anyway, he sees me. I said, Chuck Ahrens. He says, well, I just lost 80 pounds. That's the first thing he said, like, I don't care. You still look good. Anyway, that was it, and this is Rick's Corner. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. And Gary, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to go to dinner now. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
It's rickdrasin.com. He is the equalizer, baby. See you next time.